Yes, I am graduating in user experience design, it's true. My trip to New Zealand. Yippee! Okay, so the first place I went was Auckland. It is New Zealand is made up of two islands. The North Island up here in the north, and the South Island down here in the south. So, it's made up of two islands. We were in Auckland. Auckland, you may have heard of Auckland. However, contrary to popular belief, it is not the capital of New Zealand. However, it is the most populated. This is a photo that is slightly generous. Auckland also probably has the best weather. Once you start getting down south, it gets a little rough. You get the winds from the Arctic. There are earthquakes in the middle area too. We got in a storm, which was very bad, and I'm surprised we were able to leave, honestly. Little Australia. Kind of. Yeah. Waiheke Island. Did you take these pictures? Yes, these are my pictures. It says island, however, I only seem to have taken photos of the sea from the island. Waiheke Island you take a ferry to, and it's full of wineries and farms, and it reminded me of Woohoo Island. It was very pretty, it was very cute. We didn't spend a lot of time there, unfortunately, but it was very, very pretty. Weta workshop. That's like one of the photos of myself that I have that my dad took. This is me in front of a troll that was featured. I believe this one is from... Yeah, this one is from The Hobbit. I think the only troll in Lord of the Rings was in the Mines of Moria, right? He's right behind me, isn't he? Anyway, I went to the Weta workshop in Auckland. Did I take photos? Yeah, I did. Okay, awesome. Nice of you to take photo with a fan. Good one. I thought this one was going to be a much more Lord of the Rings focused. It wasn't, unfortunately, but it still had some cool stuff. This guy in the top left is not a real guy, otherwise I would not be touching him like that. Oh wait, if you don't know what Weta is the company that created all of the costumes, props, some of the special effects for The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and then they also went on to, well, after Lord of the Rings, they worked with a bunch of other companies. They did stuff for Dune. They did stuff for so many films. It's a massive list. Bottom middle of the, what do you call that, pavilion, they had this miniature, like, kingdom set up, which they use in movies a lot, so they don't actually have to build these structures life-size, because that would be a bit of a waste and very expensive. What is the figure on the right? This was just another random, like, sculpture they had that lit up and stuff, and you can see there's a human there for comparison. What they did with the tours, this one in Auckland, was they had 3 like fake films that they designed props for, and they kind of walked you through the process of how they did the stuff for these films that weren't real. That was cool, seeing the process behind it. However, I didn't know. I was kind of sad at the lack of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I'm sorry. We went to a sculpture park, and they also had giraffes there randomly. They used to have zebras there as well. Why? I don't know. But one day, they fed the zebras some deer food that contained some stuff that the zebras didn't like, and all of the zebras collapsed and died. It was an accident. They didn't mean to do that. It had some like antibiotic in it that they disagreed with. But yeah, the giraffes are still... Why'd you open with that story? Sorry, it made me really sad, so I keep thinking about the zebras. Anyway, they had a bunch of really cool sculptures. This is just a few of them. Then there was a sculpture in the top right. You can see, I've taken a photo from a hole. It was like this big trumpet thing that we were allowed to walk through. It was kind of like being born. It was very cool. You have that view of the ocean. Awesome. What's it like petting the spotty guys? Yeah, I did get to feed the giraffes. They are very interesting creatures, and their tongues, they slobber all over you. How big was it? This place was massive. I can't give you exact hectares, but it was very big. Okay, then we drove to Rotorua. So Rotorua is known for its geothermal activity. It has a lot of these, yeah, hot springs, and it has, I can smell the sulfur. Yeah, Rotorua stinks. The whole place, regardless of whether you're like directly near one of the pools or not, it stinks of sulfur, which just smells like rotten eggs, farts kind of smell. And it was kind of weird because the smell fluctuates as well. And you know, we could smell it from our hotel room a lot of the time as well. It's so strong, but sometimes it'd go, you know, it wouldn't smell that much, and then suddenly it'd smell a ton. I don't know why it fluctuates so much, but yeah. It's because of the bacteria that makes sulfur. How is it that strong? Can you drink the water? Yeah. Oh, not that water. The tap water, yes. I wouldn't... You can't go in these pools. Actually, I think there might be a man-made one you can go in. If you went in this pool, you would boil. These are like 110 degrees Celsius at least. The hot spring kind of looks like an eye. Yeah, I see that. I see that. This does not exist right now, but I'm showing you guys a photo because it looks really cool. These are called the pink and white terraces, and they used to exist in Rotorua up until like 200 years ago, 170 years ago, something like that. They were destroyed in a volcanic eruption, basically, but these became like the main tourist attraction for mainly British people who were visiting New Zealand. How do we know that guy wasn't lying? Because it was documented in a lot of other places that people went specifically to see this. And I'm really devastated that it doesn't exist anymore, because this photo is very pretty and I wish I could go see it. These are some photos I took. Wow, incredible. The one on the left is a pool that has steam coming off of it. Awesome. Again, you can't go in it or you will boil. The one on the right, that was slightly out of like the center of Rotorua, but that is a volcano that I think is still active, question mark. But I've never seen a volcano before, and it's pretty cool. How hot did it feel being so close to the pools? I don't remember it being that bad. It was annoying. The steam gets in your face and it's stinky. That was the worst part. What's the volcano's name? Couldn't tell you. I have no idea. New Zealand is relatively newly formed, and I think at the beginning of the creation of islands form, how do I say this? I think they generally have more extreme geology. Does that make any sense? Like, that's why New Zealand is really mountainous and has a bunch of lakes and rivers and, you know, a bunch of weird shit going on. Yeah, more biomes, exactly. And I think that's because when they're... Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. This was awesome, Rotorua. Okay, on the right, I genuinely look like Slender Man. I don't know what the lens has done to me. I look like I'm being spaghettified. But this was a zipline I did with my fam. Enderman, yeah. It's so frustrating because I feel like all the photos I took or take don't really capture how gorgeous it was. Yeah, zipline was very fun. It was in this forest that is like protected, but they do have the zipline going through the top of it, so you can see it, but you're also not disrupting the wildlife or the plants too much. How much did you sweat? I remember not being that hot doing this, actually. It was a pretty nice temperature, and, you know, going on the zipline, you get the breeze. It was pretty cool. Which animals did you see there? We saw a couple birds. We didn't see many other things. But birds are sick. You guys see this? That. Mushroom! Okay, this is a cool thing. Again, this looks really lame, I feel like, in the photo. But just seeing this bright neon blue mushroom while walking through the forest was pretty cool. These are edible, by the way. Not. Did you eat it? No. Okay, Hobbiton! We went to Hobbiton when we were in Rotorua. I went with my dad. I have been wanting to go to Hobbiton since I was maybe 12 years old. I had a very big Lord of the Rings Hobbit phase when I was a preteen/teen. Now it's come true. It's a little bit late, but dude, it is nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Okay, this place was so ridiculously busy. It is peak season right now because it's summertime here, and you know, it's holidays for people, so you get a lot of tourists. There are full buses of like 30 people doing tours every 10 minutes, every day at Hobbiton. They must make the most absurd amount of money. How much of NZ's tourism is just this? Okay, I was also thinking about that. These movies have significantly raised the GDP of this entire country and continue to support its whole economy. I find that so funny that these movies have had that much of an impact on, like, because yeah, so much of it is Lord of the Rings stuff. Like, all the airports have Lord of the Rings Hobbit sculptures, there's merchandise, you know, all sorts of things. Yet they still have crackhead spawners. They do. This property place was and still is owned by this family of farmers. And when they were scouting, they were kind of going on helicopter tours over New Zealand, looking at the perfect place to build Hobbiton for the Lord of the Rings movies. And they went over this farm, and I think they were specifically looking for like a lake, hilly areas. But they saw this and asked the farmers if they'd be okay with building Hobbiton here. They said yes, and they still own it now, and they are the ones who are running this like tour thing in collaboration with Warner Brothers, I think. Imagine being that these guys like actually hit the jackpot. Is that a lake, or has river paving through it? That is a lake, and then I think there is a bridge that it goes under a little bit. This is Bilbo's hole, his hobbit hole to be exact. You can't go inside this, but this is where they filmed it. So when they filmed Lord of the Rings, they did build Hobbiton. However, it was only temporary, and after they'd finished filming, it was all demolished because they didn't have the Hobbit in mind. And then when they filmed The Hobbit, they rebuilt it permanently. So this is from The Hobbit, although it wasn't Lord of the Rings. But yeah, it's been built twice. Did you visit the Green Dragon? Yes, we did at the end. Also, fun fact, this tree that you see above Bilbo's house is not real. Well, I think some of the trunk may be real, but all of the leaves that are on this tree are fake. And they were attached by, I think they got like student volunteers to like individually put every fake leaf on the tree, which is kind of cool. Next slide. Okay, this is when you could go inside the Hobbit hole. And this part was maybe the best part of the tour, I'd say. And again, the photos do not capture how, like, this part kind of blew me away. And this is a fairly new addition. I think they only built this last year. They have 2 Hobbit holes that you can go in. That is a real fire, yes. And you can interact with everything. They have built every single room. They had, like, adult bedroom, they had a children's bedroom, they had toilet, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, pantry cupboard, living room. Is the ceiling really low? It is quite low, but it was fine for me. That would be sick if you could stay there like as a hotel. Honestly, that would be a really good idea. But I think this, like all the stuff in here, I'm pretty sure was designed by the guys that did the props for the original movies. They especially designed everything in here for these things, and I think doing that for a bunch of hotel rooms might be a bit too much, but that would be really cool. What kind of toilet fixtures did they have in the Shire? Gotta be a hole in the ground, right? Wait, let me get the toilet. Here. You open this up, and yeah, it was like a hole. It was like a wooden thing. Then they have the bucket there. I don't know what the bucket's for. It looks like there's dirt in it. Or is it to, like, clean your butt? I don't know. And then they even added newspapers on the side of the toilet for them to read. I did not use it. You could not use the toilet. Oh, the level of detail was insane. Sorry you can't really see it clearly, but this tree here is a family tree. It says 2 feet family, and it's got all the names. They've got little engravings of the pictures of the people, the family. It was, oh, and it smelled of like incense in here, like a wooden, oh, it was amazing. I could have stayed in there forever. And I have more photos of this. Okay, yeah, that's the pantry. This is not real food, although it looks pretty real. And again, these this is still just like small parts of this house, but they had all this food that was decorative. They had this little hobbit window and the desk. Again, the level of detail is so amazing. So they had these Shire newspapers on the dining table, like awaited descendants of Aragorn to arrive early, annual seed swap, whatever that means, firework display next new moon, sorry. Then they had this like bulletin board, quiz night at the Green Dragon, what is that, annual potato harvest. Like, I love the detail, it was so sweet. Okay. Again, I'm so sorry my photos are so bad and I'm so frustrated that they don't capture. I'm bat-chesting, but I found it very magical. I've painted out this guy's face, but then I realized there's like people in these photos that I haven't, so maybe I shouldn't have bothered doing that. So yeah, this guy, he does not work there. There was a group of people, I think they were from Chile. That is not my dad! Oh my god, I wish. No, this guy was dressed up as Elrond. There was also someone dressed up as Arwen. There was someone dressed up as Aragorn as well. Like, full armor, even though it was, like, sweltering under it was very hot on this day, and it was very sunny. I don't know how he did it. Did your dad sneer at the role players? No, my dad actually took this photo. My dad went up to this guy and said, hey, you look cool, can I take a photo of you? And he said yes. So this was consensual. Was everything overpriced in there? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, mad respect to them for being fully dressed up in this weather. And yeah, you could grab a drink. I had a ginger ale. The whole tavern was designed and they had like medieval music playing. It was very cool. Very cool. That was Hobbiton. It was very cool. Oh, what I was gonna say earlier is our tour group was pretty good, but my dad was saying when he previously went, you have to take a bus that's like 5 minutes from the main Hobbiton, where you like check in where the merch store is, and in the bus they ask you, like, who here has seen Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and who has read the books? And my dad said that when he went on his tour, like 3 people in his group of like, again, 20-30 people had seen the films. And everyone else was completely clueless. Our group was a bit better, like more than half of us had seen the movies, but I was so offended. Even, I didn't see it, but that's bound to happen. Yeah, there are a lot of tourists who just don't know what the fuck these films are about, but it's a top tourist destination here, so they just go because it's the thing to do. Why go though? I think it's just because it's listed as a thing you should go do. That was insane to me. Also, the merch shop at Hobbiton was abysmal. It was awful. And my dad warned me, because he had gone previously, and he said, well, last time I went, the merch sucked, and I was really disappointed. And I thought, well, maybe they've upgraded the merch since you've been here. They hadn't. It genuinely looked like it was from Temu. Like, they had bags where they had obviously just gotten a PNG of, like, Legolas and just stuck it on the front of the bag, and it was like $70. It was absurd. And when you think about how the amount of merch you could make from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings that is good, there's so much opportunity for amazing merch. And it's just not there. It was dog shit. Was your Trump Lord of the Rings merch better? Oh yeah, my, the day of the bag with Trump, Putin, and Kim Jong-un. Dude, where did I put that bag? I don't know where I put that bag. But no, yeah, that bag I have is better quality, I think. The main cultural difference is the Maori presence, I guess. New Zealand, like approximately 20% of the New Zealand population is Maori, compared to, okay, around 3.8% of Australia are Aboriginal Australians, compared to 20% of Maoris in New Zealand. So there's a much larger indigenous population. So everywhere you go, there is Maori translations for everything. Maori signs. And fun fact, humans have only been in New Zealand for around 800 years. I think the Maoris came to New Zealand in, I want to say the 1400s. So it's still a very, basically the last place to be settled. Yeah, I think it's one of the last places to be settled by humans. That's quite a while. Dude, that is nothing. That is nothing compared to other countries. Where'd they come from? I believe most of the Maori came from the like islands around Indonesia and like Polynesian islands that are like north, north of Australia and like northeast of Australia. So that is the main cultural difference I observed. Wellington was the last place we went, which is down very south of the North Island. This is a very generous photo of Wellington. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time, but this is, yeah, very nice photo. Is the capital of New Zealand. It is the third most populated city, I think. Yeah, it's a lot smaller than Auckland, even though it is the capital. I went to the museum. This is the National Museum, and they had a Gallipoli exhibition. The Gallipoli campaign is very famous here in Australia and New Zealand. It was in 1915, beginning of World War One, basically, when a lot of Anzac soldiers got sent to Gallipoli and the coasts of Turkey. And Weta, the workshop that I was talking about earlier, or the company that does all the special effects, collaborated with the museum to make these incredible, extremely lifelike sculptures of a bunch of real New Zealand soldiers that had documented their accounts of being in Gallipoli. And you can see the silhouette of a human here in comparison to how big these guys were. They are not human-sized, they are very big, and the level of detail was pretty mad. They made them giant, I'm assuming, so you could see all the detail on them. But I was thinking, if you made them human-sized, I feel like that would humanize the soldiers more. Do you know what I mean? You'd be able to comprehend them as real people, as opposed to like almost mythical figures. Psychological thing to make them more epic and badass. Yeah. In Japan, they would have been chibis, yeah, maybe. This one was probably my favorite one, just because I think in these photos, you can more so see the detail. Like the second photo, I swear, just looks like I'm sitting next to a guy, but they added like pores. You could see like the glistening of sweat on their heads in the light. This guy had a bunch of flies on him, on his hands, because he was eating some canned meat. The arm hair on that guy is so insane. I know, I love the body hair. Love it. The music and the pics are evoking interesting emotions in me. Yeah, very fitting, very fitting. I didn't take a lot of photos of the other parts of the exhibition aside from these sculptures, but it was a really amazing exhibition. And if you happen to ever be in Wellington, New Zealand, I think this exhibition is now permanent, and I would highly recommend it. Fun fact as well, I learned at the Weta workshop that the hair they used on these is actually yak hair. They were originally going to try use human hair, but it was too fine to look realistic on the massive sculptures, so they used yak hair. There you go. Sewage. So, this is actually relevant. I'm not just doing this because I have a thing about sewage, because I don't. So, Wellington sewerage failed. The entire system just stopped working. Hold on, I need to get the proper stats for this, because this was actually an urgent issue. Because the entire sewage system just stopped working, and all the waste just started getting deposited into the ocean. Literally right before you went. It was happening while we were there. Dude, I look it up and the first thing on the news I see is Wellington resident horrified after raw sewage exploded from his toilet. Oh my god, the poor guy. Okay, public concern over the total failure of the Moa Point wastewater treatment plant on Wellington's south coast has been growing. When the plant failed on February 4th, sewage backed up in the main outfall pipeline and flooded the lower floors of the facility. For 2 days, raw sewage was released from an outfall only 5 meters from shore at one of the capital city's most popular seafood gathering sites. Nearly 1 billion liters of untreated sewage have since flowed onto the coast. The discharge continues at roughly 70 million liters per day. Public health warnings have rightly focused on contaminated beaches and risk to swimmers, surfers, and shellfish gatherers. So yeah, so people were warned like not to go to the beach and not to like go near the water. Because it was just, yeah, it was ceaseless discharge, indeed. And this is just a little density map where you can see it flow through the ocean. Which is not good. This sounds like the plot of a game. Is this what City Skylines entails? And it got worse, because Wellington had one of the worst storms it's had in like I think it had the worst wind in like 2 decades while we were there. There was easily the worst storm I've ever been in my entire life, because I did have to go outside in it because I was staying away from my parents, so we had to like go back and forth. The wind was fucking crazy. Perfect time for a vacation. Well, we kind of got lucky because it only happened at the end. Hurricane? Well, that's kind of when I think it was badly asked earlier, do they have hurricanes? What counts as a hurricane? The weather we were in, like to me, that was completely a hurricane. Like I was scared to be outside because I was worried I was gonna get hit by debris and fucking die. But the wind there was like 170 kilometers an hour, was what I remember seeing. If you don't know how windy that is, it's fucking windy. It's very fucking windy. Okay, I think the peak they recorded was 240 kilometers an hour on lower North Island's east coast. This storm caused like flash flooding, and when you have, you know, 1 billion liters of untreated sewage in the ocean and flash flooding, that's not a very good combo. And they had to do some more warnings not to go like anywhere near the sea in case you got splashed with wastewater. I feel bad for people in the more rural areas. Did you do this? Yes.
A low pressure system
Bro, that broom is not doing anything. What is he trying to do here?
As emergency crews tackled widespread damage.
I don't know. He's trying his best.
To bring heavy...
Ben, that was my presentation. Thank you all for listening. A-, thanks. Ugh. Dude, I'm always so nervous talking on stream after being gone for like... If I'm gone for more than 2 days, I'm terrified.